For 8 days, I'll be embarking on my first ever ocean cruise to the Mediterranean. Let's just say this is momentous in the history of Jans, sailing on the Azamara onwards from Portugal to Spain.
To an amazing cruise.
Happy cruise! Embarking from Lisbon. Literally, Lisbon is just sparkling behind me with stops in Seville. How dare you, Seville? You're literally stealing my heart. In Ceuta, which is northern Africa. The Phoenicians were here, the Romans, Portuguese, Spanish, and Jans was here. And so there's Patrick and Dave, and also Málaga. Is this our what? 5th day or 6th day in Spain?
Who knows?
Finally, we're having Jamón Ibérico. Concluding in Barcelona. Practically the greatest hits of Barcelona. Am I excited? Hell yes. When in Spain. So, let's go for an adventure. Just when I thought life couldn't be more surprising, my adventure has taken another turn, taking me from the river to the ocean. On this cruise, I've joined King of Cruising himself, Dave Natalie, the River and Ocean King Cruise, as well as top Barcelona expert Patrick Reyes of Patrick Guide Barcelona. Together, our fun little crew will board in the small cruise ship Azamara, taking us through some of the most exciting destinations from this side of the Atlantic to the Mediterranean Sea. This is my first ever ocean cruise. Frankly speaking, I've been intimidated in going into one because the thought of being surrounded by 3,000 people isn't really my choice of travel. But the Azamara isn't a mega ship. It's considered a small luxury cruise that can accommodate up to 700 guests. So this isn't your typical mega ocean liner. I'm also told that we get to access smaller, less crowded ports, and Azamara is known to offer a more intimate, yacht-like cruise experience. So, with that, I'm down. Sign me up. And our adventure started right here in Lisbon. I arrived in Lisbon cruise port to meet Dave, and it's always a delight to see this human bundle of joy. Dave just finished his fun little Lisbon tour. Hi! There it is!
This is my friend.
Hi! Good to meet you!
Good to meet you.
And soon we checked into the port where our Azamara ship is already waiting. We had our passports checked and then we're through to board the ship. And for a small cruise ship that accommodates 700 people, it's pretty big. Would you like to be surrounded by 700 people? I'm fine with that. Are you? Once we're in, we were escorted to our muster stations to do a quick safety briefing. And then off to the stateroom. Hello. Come on in. Welcome to our Azamara veranda stateroom. As you can see, it's spacious enough, comfortable enough. It's the first time in an ocean cruise, so for me, this is like Wonderland. A little lounge here where you can relax, you can work, you can chill, have a little me time, looking out to the city out there. Here's a little balcony where you can spend time in the sun, the beautiful Lisbon in front of you. This is one of the most beautiful things about being docked here is literally you're at the edge of the city and it's so easy to get there. And this will be our home for 8 days. That's a lot of nights. Portugal to Spain. Basically a whole new adventure. You have the safe for all your personal belongings. Some free bottled waters over here. There's fridge. You got robes, life jacket, which is super important. Not that, hopefully we won't need it. And a cozy bathroom with everything you need. Here's Patrick, my cameraman. Right, so hopefully we'll give you all the updates in all our days here. So we'll keep you up to date, plugged in, and share the fun with us. On our arrival day, we get to just take our time, getting familiar with the whole ship, the facilities available, the different floors, lounges, roof decks, restaurants, as well as cafes. We had our first lunch at the Windows Cafe Terrace with its view over Lisbon. First Sunday of the trip.
Let's see.
We visited Dave in his suite, which is much bigger, more spacious, with a generous bathroom and an even bigger balcony. There was even a sparkling wine to toast to our ocean cruise together.
Look at that. To an amazing cruise.
On the Azamara on the ship.
Thank you. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Happy cruise.
Cheers.
had our first barbecue dinner on the patio deck, whilst enjoying the sunset, looking out at the gorgeous city in front of us, with our very own Azamara viewpoint. We are spending our first night here in Lisbon aboard the Azamara cruise, and one of the best things about having a cruise like this is we're able to actually dock in cities and have longer stays and not just breezing through cities. And you get to experience this. Look at this. Isn't this beautiful? Literally, Lisbon is just sparkling behind me. It looks so beautiful and you wouldn't want to miss this. You can just enjoy being here without a stress. I mean, we can choose to go actually there, but tomorrow, stay tuned because we're going for a little Lisbon morning walk and we're going to show you some of the best parts of Lisbon. So stay tuned. See you tomorrow. Good night. Good morning, guys. First morning in Lisbon and first night on the ship. The beds were absolutely comfortable, so that's always reassuring. What's more, you get this whole city right in front of you. I mean, isn't that incredible to wake up with this view? Just Lisbon sitting right here, inviting you to explore. Thankfully, we had an entire morning to enjoy and make the most of our time here before our cruise began. So right after a great breakfast on the ship, whilst enjoying the views on the deck, it was then time to head out to Lisbon. We had a few precious hours, so we had to be smart in how to experience the city, playing a regular itinerary in reverse, as we took an Uber and slingshot us right to the top of Graça to enjoy the city's highest viewpoint, Miradouro de Nossa Senhora do Monte. As most of you know, Lisbon is named the City of Seven Hills, and this is undoubtedly the best viewpoint to observe this stunning city. This neighborhood Graça is the steepest of climbs, so for those who want to save much time and energy, do it this way, and you'll have a much easier climb down these hills. Next, we walk down to Miradouro de Graça, another fabulous viewpoint, and one of my favorites in the city. A really romantic lookout with the Church of Graça, with a little square and benches where you can sit and truly enjoy this Lisbon panorama. We freewheel downhill, where Graça melds into Alfama, the city's oldest neighborhood, a Moorish maze that no earthquake managed to flatten. These streets alone will remind you that Lisbon is one of the oldest cities in Europe and in the world. I mean, I live here in Lisbon, and I will never take for granted all of this beauty around me. We stopped by at Portas do Sol, Doors to the Sun, as they call it, and it's views like this that makes me sometimes pinch myself that I get to choose this place as my home city. Another must-visit scenic spot is the Miradouro de Santa Luzia, flanked with a wonderful pergola, decked with gorgeous tiles and fronted with an even more gorgeous view of Lisbon waterfront. Just a little amble down the hill is the iconic Lisbon Cathedral, Sé de Lisboa. This 12th century medieval relic, one that survived the 1755 earthquake and withstood centuries of change. Believe it or not, I actually haven't been inside, one of those things I've overlooked all these years I've been living here. We climbed up on its upper gallery to observe its medieval Gothic and Romanesque glory, with a stunning stained glass window and a view of Lisbon to behold. Then it was time for a quick stop for pastel de nata, arguably the most iconic Portuguese pastry of all time. Then we headed down to the Baixa neighborhood on Rocio Square, Lisbon's beating heart for over 700 years, where we got to walk in an open-air work of art, this wave-patterned pavement dedicated to Portugal's seafaring soul. We also got to walk past and take a glimpse at the famous Elevador de Santa Justa, Lisbon's steampunk iron lift. But our eyes and taste buds were set on round 2 of pastel de nata, from an arguably superior producer, Castro, just right across the Santa Justa lift. All crusty on the outside and creamy soft on the inside. This was a perfect coffee stop before we continue our Lisbon morning walk. We carried on through Rua Augusta, Lisbon's grand promenade, with a beautiful triumphal arch at the end, a magnificent arch that crowns Praça do Comércio, Lisbon's gateway to the river and the sea. But before we ended this walk, we stopped by at one of Lisbon's oldest cafes, São Martinho de Arcada, for a glass of ginginha, this sour cherry liquor as we do a quick toast to Lisbon and to life. We conquered a hill, 2 pastel de natas, walked through centuries of history, and a glass of courage, all before sail away. And just like that, our Azamara cruise started sailing away. And like the best of celebrations, our ship threw a barbecue grill lunch party to celebrate our grand voyage from the Atlantic to the Mediterranean. And I must say, there's something really poetic about setting sail from Lisbon. This city was the epicenter of what had been the world's greatest maritime adventures in all of mankind's history. Portugal launched the Age of Discovery in 1415, and this river leading to the ocean had witnessed ships setting their sails onward into a vast world of unknown, at least from a European perspective. And it took 610 years this year in 2025 that I get to do my own Age of Discovery aboard the Azamara for the Mediterranean. Let's just say this is momentous in the history of Jans. In my In the Mood for Life era, this is the moment. Let's do it. Aboard the Azamara ship from a city built on the dreams of explorers, we set sail in awe of Lisbon's truly extraordinary beauty, sparkling from a distance, sailing under the dramatic 25th of April bridge, barely containing our excitement of what lies ahead. Later that evening, we got to savor the flavors of the Discovery's restaurant, Azamara's main dining restaurant, as we poured over a few courses. Cheers, buddies. With a view of the sea and the sunset behind us, promising a glorious beginning of our very own seafaring adventure. What I love about cruises is that you get to only unpack only once, as opposed to regular multi-destination travel, where you unpack several times, which can be annoying actually. On a cruise, you get to unpack only once and get to visit multiple destinations in one trip. And then all you need to do is just pack once you leave the ship at the end of the cruise. What I love about this ship is that you can actually run every morning before breakfast. Right here on this running track. Don't you just love it? It's amazing. Exercise every morning before breakfast. A little hard to do the first, but you get used to it. Being at sea has its advantages indeed, as I get to use the ship's gym facilities, work out and train a little bit, and check out the Sanctum Spa, and that's all before breakfast. Buenos dias. Welcome to Spain. Now we're sailing onto the river into Seville. It's one of the most interesting things about this cruise ship is that because it's a smaller cruise line, it's able to fit in this river. So we actually sail into Seville. We sailed in the River Guadalquivir, the only navigable river in Spain, an exact same river that Ferdinand Magellan set sail with his ships in 1519 to circumnavigate the whole world. This exciting fact was further explored as we attended a talk that day about Imperial Spain at the Cabaret Lounge, presented by an onboard historian, a quick yet fascinating rundown into the tumultuous centuries of Spanish history. This is one of Azamara's variety of lectures, roster of talks, activities, and themed gatherings on board. Then it was time to head for lunch at the patio on the upper deck, with a salad bar and pool menu available all afternoon where you can eat al fresco. We had so much time in the afternoon as our ship was scheduled to arrive in Seville later at 5 p.m, so we got to explore more of the ship. For the main reception and staircase, where there's the Mosaic Cafe, serving coffee and casual treats all day. On the same floor is a Discovery's restaurant, where we already had dinner with a little bit of fine dining flair. Further in the ship is the den, a lounge space and bar to relax and unwind. On deck 9, there's a Windows Cafe, where we usually have breakfast and lunch, with the open-air pool and bar on the same deck. And then in deck 10, there's the Atlas Bar, serving signature cocktails. There's also Prime C, a formal steak restaurant, and Aquilina, Italian fine dining for the fabulous. And if you love the look and feel of this Azamara cruise so far, imagine experiencing this for real next year You can join the same cruise journey, but longer and even more immersive, next June 2026 on an unforgettable voyage from Barcelona to Bordeaux aboard the Azamara Quest for 14 nights. It's more than just a cruise, it's a deep dive into the soul of the Iberian Peninsula, exploring Spain, Portugal, and a little bit of northern France. Led by none other than Patrick himself, our expert guide to Barcelona and Spain. If you're dreaming for an immersive, cultural, and fun cruise led by my friend Patrick, who's an excellent tour guide with an extensive knowledge of Spain, this is your sign. I can personally connect you to Patrick and Dave, aka the River and Ocean Cruise King, to help you book your spot. Bonus, you'll be supporting my work too, as I earn a commission when you book through me. Email me at jans@inthemoodforlife.com or scan the QR code or visit azamaracruise2026.inthemoodforlife.com. Only 30 cabins are available, so limited spots only. Hurry, Iberia is calling. Now you can just sit back and relax, and let's continue to get you inspired with our Azamara cruise as we finally arrived in one of my favorite cities in Spain, Seville. Before we knew it, it was 5 p.m. and we docked in Seville. And boy, this place is hot. 39 degrees Celsius of Andalusian hot welcome. We immediately headed to the city center as Patrick booked us a tapas stall for a taste of Sevilla. And our meeting point was at Plaza de Salvador in the quarter of Alfalfa, with its wonderful square with the Baroque church Iglesia Colegial del Divino Salvador. While we waited for our guide, we had beers to help douse the heat at La Antigua Bodeguita and soaked in the atmosphere of this lively social spot. Pretty soon, we met our guide for the evening, Jeff Trench, who traded Oregon for Sevilla, who's been living in the city for the last 8 years and a total of 14 years around Spain. He went to culinary school here and traveled far and wide around the country to gain a profound understanding of the different regional traditions and flavors. Now he's a storyteller of taste, a guide to our culinary pilgrimage here in Seville. Patrick had found him, and what a find he was. His passion for Andalusian cuisine shines through, giving us a great context of the food culture here, where tapas reigns supreme. Our first stop was Bodega Los Soportales, tucked under the arches of this buzzing plaza. Patrick resumed with a glass of cold Cruzcampo beer, and both Dave and I had Tinto de Verano con Limón, lighter than sangria and totally refreshing in its heat. We had altramuses, or lupin beans. Then came chicharrón de Cádiz, thin slices of rich, melt-in-your-mouth Iberian pork belly, followed by montadito de pringa, a sandwich bite of slow-cooked meats mashed into deliciousness. I say a perfect opening act, taking us directly to the heart of the traditional Andalusian flavors. While we're walking around the city, I could not help but notice what a really beautiful city Sevilla is. I mean, I can't help looking at everything around here. Looking at every direction, there's so much beauty in the city. It's amazing. We then wandered through the beating heart of Seville, past the monumental Seville Cathedral, where we got to briefly take a peek. And then there's the iconic Giralda Tower, once a minaret, now a bell tower. Past the Fuente Farola, a fountain that's also a lamppost, and we enter the delicious chaos of Calle Mateos Gago, a beautifully lively street crammed with tapas institutions and places to eat. Next stop is Taberna Perejil, the birthplace of Seville's famous Vino de Naranja, the sweet and aromatic orange wine, like the scent of spring in the city's courtyards and a little taste of orange heaven. Here we tasted caracoles, tiny snails simmered in broth with spices. I haven't had snails for years, and after tasting it again, I love it, especially this Andalusian version. Then we had muhama, cured tuna, the ham of the sea, finding it intense and salty. The hearty espinacas con garbanzos, spinach with chickpeas, paid homage to Seville's Moorish roots, while the buñuelos de wakame, ortiguillas y camarones brought in the sea with light garlicky fritters of seaweed, baby shrimp, and sea anemone. I love this dish, a salty sea pairing with a sweet orange wine. We walked further on, along the vibrant streets, with Jeff giving us more historical context of this place, showing the Roman columns that have been here since the dawn of Roman time. And soon stopped at Ajo y Agua, tucked at Calle Boteros. Here we sipped on a chilled manzanilla Jerez, or sherry in Spanish, dry and delicate, made from the Palomino Fino grape with a whisper of salinity from the nearby coast. To pair with, we had queso payoyo, a goat cheese from Cadiz, then smoked sardine atop tomato marmalade, smoky, silky and sweet, a bite of chorizo with caramelized onion and chipotle mayo, a really delicious sandwich. Next door, we made a quick stop at Bar Galocchi, and we've seen nothing like it. Like a surreal fever dream of religious ecstasy wrapped in velvet and holy devotion. A place where you can have a profane cocktail or two. We couldn't believe our eyes, and this felt like an Almodovarian spot. Cinematic in its own way and unapologetically Andalusian. I expected a priest to show up and mix some heavenly cocktails for us. Despite being a quick and unexpected stop, I felt like witnessing something truly, uniquely theatrical. Our last stop was Salmedina in the Alfalfa neighborhood with all its hip, local and laid-back atmosphere. We started with ensaladilla de gambas, Seville's beloved version of Russian salad, creamy with prawns and a nod to 19th century culinary cross-pollination. Then cecina de bonito, tuna cured in-house with a texture like fine jamon. And finally, corvina alla donostiara, a croaker fish fillet with garlic, chili and olive oil sizzling on top. We toasted with a crisp dry white, again from the Palomino Fino grape, and this Salmedina fish restaurant was a fitting finale. In Sevilla, tapas aren't just about food, it's about savoring life, one small plate at a time. And Jeff walked us through Seville's gastronomy and took us through a journey through Andalusian ingredients and traditions and helped understand the rhythms of Seville's everyday life, where food and tapas are vital to social functions, customs, and the soul of his city. We bid goodbye to Jeff, thanked him for a wonderful private food tour as we ambled back to our ship with happy stomachs and happy souls, satisfied with a really worthy evening full of culinary delights. We just came out first thing in the morning to enjoy the city while, it's slowly waking up. It's also really hot here in Sevilla. It's about 38 degrees to 39 degrees Celsius. So really wise to start early in the morning. Currently, it's not even 7:30 a.m. So we're trying to beat the heat, and that's the most sensible thing to do in Sevilla. Sevilla, the capital of the Andalusia region of southern Spain, if I can put it simply, is nothing short of spectacular. I am so glad this was part of our cruise itinerary, giving us a taste of the Andalusian magic at work in this truly breathtaking city. This was actually my first time in Seville, and one of the first things that struck me, apart from the heat, was how green it is. Seville is home to some of the most impressive parks I've seen in any city. Over 1,000 hectares of green space are woven into the city's fabric, offering sanctuaries of shade from the blazing sun. And since we're at the topic of greenery, here's a little trivia of the city. Sevilla is also the city with the most orange trees in the whole world. They counted about 25,000 orange trees in the city. How incredible is that? For those seeking the shade, there's a vast Parque de Maria Luisa, an expansive garden gifted to the city by Princess Maria Luisa of Bourbon in the 19th century. This became the central landscape for the 1929 Ibero-American Expo, where they built one of Seville's most iconic spaces, Plaza de España. And nothing prepared me for the grandeur of this place. I had seen photos before, but they don't do it justice. The sheer size of the plaza is astonishing, semicircular and monumental. It spans over 50,000 square meters, ringed by a vast canal and crossed by ornate bridges. It was designed by architect Anibal González as the centerpiece of the 1929 exposition, with an architectural style that blends Moorish and Renaissance revival. It was a great idea to come here early in the morning, as there were only a few people, and it felt like we had the entire plaza to ourselves. Great standout were the 52 tiled alcoves, each representing a different province of Spain. These ceramic masterpieces are more than decorative. They're miniature storytelling panels with maps, crests, and historic scenes from each region. There's so much theatre and drama in this place, it's even cinematic. To no surprise, famous films such as Lawrence of Arabia and Star Wars: Attack of the Clones were filmed here. There was just so much beauty and craft in Plaza de España that it was just hard to leave this place. But from there, we continued to the historic heart of Seville, walking through storied streets and gorgeous avenues, enjoying this morning walk before the city gets too hot. Unless you'd want the scorching Andalusian summer to hit you square in the face, I highly recommend an early morning walk. Besides, the streets are less crowded. The pure magic of Seville literally glows around you, and you can just soak in the city sights, sounds, and senses. How dare you, Sevilla? You're literally stealing my heart. I am falling in love with this city. It's just so beautiful. We are now heading into the Real Alcazar. We bought our tickets really early, so hopefully there won't be much queue. I can't wait to see this place. I mean, this got to be one of the most beautiful palaces here. So, very excited. Sevilla is home to 3 UNESCO World Heritage Sites, and one of them is this place, Real Alcazar. This is also one of the oldest palaces in Europe still in use, and it's absolutely captivating. Originally a Moorish fort, construction began in the 10th century under the Muslim rule of the Abbasid and then to the Almohad dynasty. But much of what we see today was commissioned by King Pedro I of Castile in the 14th century, adding in the sumptuous Palacio de Don Pedro in the Mudéjar style, a uniquely Andalusian blend of Islamic and Christian artistic traditions. That fusion is everywhere in the Alcazar. Intricately carved plaster walls, pattern tiles in infinite geometries, and stunning Arabic and Andalusian art existing in harmony. At the heart of this palace is a sublime Patio de las Doncellas, or courtyard of the maidens, surrounded by beautiful arches, plasterwork and tiling. The sunken garden in the center was uncovered by archaeologists in 2004 from beneath a 16th century marble covering. Then we walk through room after room, each more extraordinary than the last. We walk through the Hall of Tapestries, filled with enormous woven narratives of empire and conquest, and the vast gardens beyond, another whole world of beauty to be explored. Truth be told, if you think the palace is beautiful, wait till you see and experience the gardens. This whole place is legendary. You'll recognize most of it as these green sanctuaries were recently featured in Game of Thrones series as the Water Gardens of Dawn of House Martell, adding another layer of mythical glamour to this place. It's a stunning, stunning place, and both Patrick and I were simply in awe of the majesty of Alcazar. In fact, most of the time we were just speechless as we wandered around here. There's a whole collection of different gardens and orchards that is very easy to get lost in here. One could easily spend a whole afternoon just exploring the gardens alone. It's also worth noting upon your visit that this is a living, breathing garden and park, adding a sensual richness to the Sevillian gem. After being transported by centuries of history and beauty, we crossed over to yet another architectural wonder, the Seville Cathedral. Built over a former mosque, it is a bold Gothic statement. It's the largest Gothic cathedral in the world and a powerful symbol of Christian reconquest. This is one of UNESCO World Heritage Sites here in Sevilla, and also significant due to the fact that Christopher Columbus, or at least part of himself, is buried here. There's no denying the stunning vision of this place, but something else draws the eye upwards. Attached to the cathedral is the Giralda, the former minaret turned bell tower. We went to climb its 35 gentle ramps, unique for any tower instead of steps, apparently built so horses could descend. But seeing the narrow passageway, I doubt horses could fit. Nonetheless, once we reached the top, the Giralda gave nothing less than dazzling panoramic views of Seville, the extraordinary details of the cathedral roof that all made the effort worth every step. From a distance, we could even see Plaza de España and our Azamara cruise ship docked. Once you're back down in the ground, don't forget to check out the Patio de los Naranjos, or the Orange Tree Courtyard, with a large stone fountain basin that dates all the way back to the Visigothic period. Further on, we walked and walked through beautiful Seville, past avenues and squares, through covered streets, past really charming 19th century shops and cafes. And and then arrived at one of Sevilla's most visited landmarks. We are now in one of the most fascinating spots in Seville. It's called Les Setas, or the Mushrooms, and this project won an architectural prize made to rehabilitate this area of Seville. This is definitely one of the best panoramic views in Seville. Do not miss this. From a distance, it does look a giant oyster mushroom clouding this area, but this installation serves a purpose. Also called the Metropole Parasol, designed by German architect Jürgen Mayer, it's built primarily from timber wood and concrete columns. The surreal sculptural work provides a great shade to the large plaza of La Encarnación. Its modern boldness contrasts sharply with the centuries-old architecture around it, making Seville even more fascinating. The constant conversation between the old and the new. We climbed on top, where you can walk along well-built footpaths, winding around the top of this mushroom cloud. And honestly, it has incredible panoramas over the city. Actually, perhaps the best we've seen, aside from the Heralda Tower. And down below, it protects archaeological ruins from Moorish and Roman times. And I've been told, at night, Las Setas glows with this gorgeous light display. The last place we visited was Torre del Oro, the Tower of Gold, an ancient dodecagonal military tower that once guarded the Guadalquivir River. It stood as a reminder of Seville's once magnificent role during centuries that shaped the world, a fitting final image of a city that dazzled me at every turn. I'm just really grateful that I'm able to visit Seville. I mean, I feel so sorry for those who haven't visited Seville yet. It's literally in my top most beautiful cities I've ever visited. It's really, really beautiful, and I think they've done such a great job in the city to preserve it, at the same time modernize it in the most balanced way possible. We went back to the ship after Seville sweeping us off our feet, as we continued to sail back to the river and to the sea with a glimpse of Sanlúcar de Barrameda, where the Columbus, Magellan and Elcano expeditions set sail towards a great sea in the vast ocean ahead. Just like us, but knowing that I'll certainly be back in this part of Spain on another glorious day. Next morning, we woke up in Africa. That's right, the African continent. On a close distance from the ship, we could see the edges of Morocco, and on the other side, Gibraltar, the tip of Europe. We cruised through the Strait of Gibraltar, where the Mediterranean kisses the Atlantic, heading towards a city unlike any other. This is day 4 of Azamara cruise, and we are now in Ceuta, which is the Spanish Africa. Practically, this is in Morocco, and I'm really excited because this place has really fascinating history. Greeting at the harbour's entrance is the bronze sculpture of Hercules. In mythology, Hercules himself was said to have parted the mountains to create the Strait of Gibraltar, placing Ceuta forever in the realm of legends. As soon as we stepped ashore, I realized this was my return to Africa, my second time in the continent, and Spanish Africa. A reminder that this oxymoron exists even until today, the same way you would call Gibraltar British. Though unlike Morocco, this time felt different. There were tapas bars instead of tagines, plazas instead of souks, a place where Europe and Africa mingled. Ceuta is a compact, walkable city with layers upon layers of history. The Phoenicians, Carthaginians, Romans, Arabs were here, with the powerful Berber dynasties and Islamic empires. Then came the Portuguese in 1415, marking the beginning of the European Age of Discovery. This was Europe's first overseas conquest, and in many ways, its first colony. The fall of Ceuta to Portugal prefigured the centuries of empire building that would soon follow. A century later, in 1580, Ceuta became Spanish territory during the Iberian Union, and it remained under Spanish rule ever since. We wandered through the old town, visited the sanctuary of Santa Maria of Africa, tracing the ancient walls that once defended this prized port, and proceeded to Playa de la Ribeira, where we briefly traded walking for kayaking. We are ready to kayak. I mean, the water is so calm here in Ceuta, so that's a good thing. Practically kayaking on Mediterranean waters. The Med is known to be very calm water, so I'm not worried at all. We've got really private kayaks, individual kayaks ready. We're going. Let's go. Now, this is not what I expected doing in Ceuta. I was reluctant at first, but then I thought, nothing wrong with pumping a little adrenaline into our adventure. The goal? To paddle into the historical seawalls of Ceuta. These ancient fortifications that once kept out invaders, and today we're the ones invading it with our kayaks. Legal? Yes. Safe? Well, only if you know how to row and kayak, and I haven't done it in years. The weather started a little cloudy and humid. Thankfully the water was super calm, but it took a little while to get there. Alright, we're nearly there on the walls. Just directly there. Patrick is leading. Look at that. And I'm going somewhere else onto the rock. Ah, there's a boat! One thing I failed to realize, there are boats that go into these waterways. So unless you want to get spontaneous brush with a boat, you have to stay right in the lane. Which was what I did, but not too successfully. However, it was amazing to see and touch these walls. Guys, I am touching centuries-old history right on these walls. Isn't that incredible? Murallas Reales de Ceuta, or the royal walls of Ceuta, have been here since the 10th century, at least the oldest and original parts of it, and it was astounding just being here, observing how huge these walls are. If you were a medieval invader from the sea, good luck having fun climbing these walls. For those able-bodied, please do go kayaking when you come to Ceuta. It's just one of the best things to do here. It's absolutely worth it. Just be careful with the boats, the small boats, because they can be, you got to stick to the right. That's the rule. Stick to the right, to the walls, over there. Yes, that sounds all very well, until I forgot another invisible opponent, the currents. You see, there's a turning where the current gets spicy, like unexpectedly strong.
It's so weird, it's the flow of the water, it's dragging me down.
The water pushed back hard, cue chaotic paddling and crying out for help.
Patrick, I can't. It's like flowing against me. See?
Worst of all, there was a boat incoming.
Patrick, I'm stuck. I don't know how.
Just pause right there. I thought if I died right here, well, at least you have this found footage for the memories. Those boat people who saw me must have laughed their heads off. But I survived the misadventure, and I literally clung for a rock for dear life, like my whole life depended on it. Because, let's be honest, it kinda did. Thankfully, Patrick found me again, and eventually we made our way back to the open sea. A little shaken and full of adrenaline, but alive. So yes, I survived kayaking chaos in Ceuta. 10 out of 10, would recommend, but maybe stick to the right side of the channel, and keep an eye out for rogue currents, and just learn how to dodge boats.
And we are done with our kayak for today. There you go.
After a quick dip in the warm sea, the weather was already immensely better, which felt like a reward after all that sport. And this beach in Ceuta started looking like a Mediterranean dream. We explored Ceuta further, and since it was around noontime, it was time for a much-needed lunch. On the hunt for Ceuta's local flavors and delicacies, we went to Maison El Mentidero.
When in Spain. Cheers, guys.
We ordered a few tapas to share, had a classic chipirones, or fried little squid squeezed with lemon. Tasted angulas, or baby eels with prawns, and garlic, and was surprised how delicious they were. But we really came here for, guess what? Chicken hearts.
Alright, so one of the specialties here in Ceuta is corazones del pollos, chicken hearts. I have eaten chicken hearts. It's because, I've been born in Philippines, so I've already had chicken hearts before. But I'm so excited to try it because I haven't eaten it for a long, long time. And it looks amazing. So, here we go. Really good. Delicious. It's a little chewy, but there's a lot of flavor in it. Delicious. Tastes like cumin, paprika, turmeric. It's just really delicious. You've got to have it when it comes to Ceuta.
After this fantastic tapas lunch, we went sculpture hunting. As little did we know, Ceuta has become something of a sculpture central.
When you're in Ceuta, you must not miss all the statues that surround the city. They're everywhere. This guy behind me is Hercules. And legend has it that he broke off this part of the continent that connects Africa to Europe. And that's how the Atlantic Ocean flooded the whole Mediterranean area as we know it today. So that's Hercules the guy.
Apart from demigod Herc, there are Roman busts, allegorical sculptures of Africa, more Greek gods,
but we went for the most famed one. Not exactly a standalone sculptural work, but an entire house. This is the House of the Dragons, not from the Game of Thrones series fame, but possibly Ceuta's most fantastical landmark. Owned by the Serni Gonzalez brothers, this is a house flanked with 4 massive bronze dragons, which are actually recreations of the original dragons, which were lost for decades. It's bold, theatrical, and kinda magical, which makes Ceuta even more memorable, let's be honest. Everyone was here in Ceuta. The Byzantine was here, the Carthaginians were here, the Phoenicians were here, the Romans, the Portuguese, the Spanish, and Jans was here. And so does Patrick. And Dave. We walked back to our Azamara ship and thought, what a day. But wait, it's not even over yet. We arrived back in the ship, showered, changed, and got ready for a very different kind of adventure, the Azamara White Night Party. After an adrenaline-fueled and gastronomy-filled day, it felt surreal to be back in the ship, partying with everyone in there. I mean, just that morning, I was kayaking into ancient seawalls, clinging to rocks for dear life, and dodging boats in the Mediterranean. I suppose this was a fitting celebration to be alive.
Are you enjoying the White Night Party?
It was delightful to enjoy this open-air party, celebrating a cruise, Dave and Patrick with all the other guests just having a really great time. And the whole amazing crew and staff even came out, taking a break from all the work to ensure us a smooth cruise. And Azamara really pulled no punches in the food department. I mean, this was a feast to end all feasts. The stunning variety of dishes and food selection was really impressive. We helped ourselves for starters as a cruise band broke out classic hits and dancefloor favorites. And the party went on, but we proceeded to our restaurant reservation that evening at Prime Sea and got to try one of the ship's specialty restaurants. We had a refined 3-course dinner, with really great steaks by the way, while reminiscing our day in Ceuta, appreciating both adventures and misadventures. And that's the beauty and gift of travel. It gives us stories that we can tell forever.
Good morning. This is day 5 in our Azamara cruise, and we are in the city of Málaga, one of the most famous cities right here in the coast of Spanish Andalusia. And what an amazing day to be in Málaga. We were docked literally right in the city, and Málaga's historic centre is just within walking reach. But before we headed out, we indulged in a breakfast in one of Azamara's specialty restaurants, Aquilina, where guests and the suites can enjoy a calmer and peaceful start to the day. It was my first time in Málaga, a city I've heard so much about, with a reputation of being a party central. But from what I've experienced, Málaga is actually so much more and deserves your attention. Apart from stunning coastlines and beaches, Málaga is one of the oldest continuously inhabited cities in the whole world, and it's certainly worthy of admiration and respect. I went exploring solo, as both Dave and Patrick have already been here a few times, and I already had my own itinerary in mind. First stop, the Málaga Cathedral. Or as the locals call it, La Manquita, the one-armed lady, due to the fact that after hundreds of years, one of her towers is still unfinished. But here's the thing, I love visiting churches and cathedrals. I'm not exactly a religious person, but I would visit cathedrals, mosques, synagogues, temples, because there's so much beauty, architecture, art and creativity poured into the structures, practically time capsules carved in stone. And this cathedral in Málaga is a great beauty, blending Gothic and Renaissance flamboyantly. Built during the Christian Reconquest directly on top of a former mosque, just like many cathedrals all over Andalusia, this majestic cathedral will take your breath away with its soaring ceilings, intricately woven with a touch of Baroque. There's also extraordinarily carved choir stalls, some of the best you'll see of Spanish craftsmanship. And just everywhere you look, there's an old world atmosphere that feels like you've been plunged back to distant centuries past. By mid-morning, the Andalusian sun was making a full-time job of reminding me I needed a summer hat. So a quick hat shopping later, I found a woven hat and was officially in full Spanish mode.
Right after, Malaga immediately plunged me even further back in time as I encountered this ancient Moorish fortress palace, a kasbah or citadel in the middle of the city. I am now in Alcazaba in Malaga, and this is one of the most well-preserved fortifications in the entire Spain, built during the 11th century during the Muslim-ruled period of Al-Andalus. This place is an absolute time capsule. From the outside, it might look like another fortress of stone, but climb above the ramparts and you'll get wondrous views of the city and the sea. The Mediterranean breeze, a real treat. You can even see the path through Gibraltar, the older Phoenician fortress on the higher hill. And within the Alcazaba are tranquil gardens, courtyards with fountains, Moorish arches and sunny patios with views. I mean, this whole place used to be a palatial residence within these walls. Just below the Alcazaba lies a 1st century Roman theatre discovered in the 1950s after centuries buried in rubble. And you thought Malaga was just beaches and sangria. There's a few centuries of history right under your feet. I explored the city further, following the shade, and strolled through Parque de Málaga, this pretty urban park with leafy promenades, lined with palm trees and wonderful architecture, with occasional fountains and even leafier gardens. But the midday heat kicked up a notch, so I avoided the sun for a little while and took refuge in Museo de Málaga, a treasure trove of archaeology and fine art housed in a grand customs building. Upstairs, 19th century Spanish painters made me pause, really beautiful and dramatic seascapes, mythological paintings and portraits, and works by Enrique Simonet, Francisco de Goya and Pablo Picasso. And speaking of which, as you very well know, Picasso is Malaga's most famous son, born in this city in 1881. I went to hunt down the painter's famous sculpture, which is located in Plaza de la Merced, and there he was, Pablo minding his own business, while tourists snap away their holiday photos, with Pablo looking unbothered as ever. I had some spare time and wanted to visit the Picasso Museum here, but I hadn't booked a ticket in advance, and the line looked like it could stretch back to the Blue Period. Rookie mistake. But pro tip, Picasso waits for no one. Still, I admire the facade, a museum housed in 16th century Buena Vista Palace, once owned by the Counts of Buena Vista. Elsewhere, I had so much joy just wandering around the old town, with streets like a maze, bustling areas and wide open plazas. It felt like I was just scratching the surface of Malaga. I reunited with pals Dave and Patrick and went to Bodega El Pimpi, and we were even graced by Dave's friend Emily, who joined us for lunch. I've been told El Pimpi is a veritable institution, and undoubtedly part of Malaga's soul, where each corner drips with so much character, rooms that twist like maze, so much art, Andalusian tiles, photos, plants hang on every wall, wine barrels stacked up and sung by famous personalities. We sat outside, al fresco, and the place felt warm, chaotic, and yet absolutely charismatic. And food? Classic, comforting tapas, and absolutely local. We had oxtail stew, fried anchovies, squid, all drowned with tinto de verano. This is the kind of place where you might come for a quick tapas and end up staying for hours. It's a real slice of Andalusian joy. Further ahead, Patrick took us to La Tranca, which is this offbeat, authentic local bar that looks and feels like vintage Spain. Old records plaster the walls where menus are written in chalk. It's unfussy and packed with attitude, and we loved it. More tinto de verano for everybody. And I even tasted a local fortified wine called Pajarete, which is local to Malaga, and it's sweet and delectably good. We carried on walking and headed to the ship, but spontaneously stopped at another tapas place, because, well, when in Malaga, we stopped at La Clásica for another cheeky round of tapas and a glass of vermouth. I suppose this is how Malaga gets you. Is this our what, 5th day or 6th day in Spain?
Who knows? And who cares?
Yeah, whatever. Finally, we're having jamón ibérico for the first time. There we go. Going to my mouth, now or never. There's no going back.
Stop!
We walked during the golden hour when the city was so alive with movement. But before we ended our day, Patrick and I wandered quickly into Vinoteca Bouquet for a bit of Malaga wine tasting, sampling the local flavors, and then took a quick peek at Malaga's oldest tavern, Casa de Guardia. It was already sunset and headed to Malaga's wonderful port, which is even more gloriously alive in this time. We made it back in the ship just in time for some proper Andalusian extravaganza, a special flamenco performance. I was delighted to catch this flamenco show, a true art form that originated here in the Andalusian region of Spain. Azamara really did well by bringing in cultural aspects of the places we visit on board, so we get an authentic experience such as this. So, great props to Azamara for a splendid evening of Andalusian entertainment. We finished the evening by just relaxing at the back of the ship, above the deck, overlooking the port of Malaga, which glowed in the dusk. Malaga surprised me, and a reminder that sometimes the best adventures happen when you least expect it. As the sky began to darken, the ship slowly pulled away from one of the most marvelous ports we've ever been on this cruise, with Malaga quietly gleaming like an invitation to come back someday. Day 6 was a gift. After days of touring and exploring Andalusia and Spain, today we simply sailed. Azamara cruised all day at sea and we let ourselves breathe. Our day began at the Discoveries restaurant with one of the most glorious brunches I've ever had, both in sea and land. A gorgeous brunch feast full of incredible food, plus Bloody Marys and mimosas. Afterwards, I had free time and space to reflect, edit, and work, with the ocean as my office window. I also realized how perfectly balanced this cruise had been, immersive on land and restorative at sea. I even carved out time to read, properly read, uninterrupted, and I'd forgotten how good that felt. I also simply let myself be, enjoying the sun on the balcony, enjoying that fresh sea air. And later that afternoon, the three of us gathered together, with Dave, the cruise king, and Patrick, our Barcelona and Spain expert, and yours truly.
I'm ready for my close-up.
And we sat down to record a podcast together, or in this case, a videocast, and talked about all things Azamara, cruises, and travel.
I just made all of this a beer.
Well, first off, can we pop into your suite every afternoon to have this tea service?
You can, but I'm getting off the ship tomorrow, so...
I'm actually loving the food in the ship. I think there's a great variety. You will never run out of food in the ship. Patrick is right. I feel like, for example, the Tapas tours that we did yesterday, you get so much more experience of the place by going there, going to the city and actually experiencing it. But to be fair with the ship, they also try to reflect the local flavor.
Danger.
Like they have like paella, they have all those seafood where we're docked, but there is a lot of food. And you're right, we don't have to eat. You can only eat as much as you want. It's your choice, basically, at the end of the day.
Raise your hand if you've been to the ship's gym.
I have.
I walked through it.
So you can raise your hand.
Yeah, there you go.
I went for a pedicure at the spa. Does that count?
You had to walk through the gym.
You walked
right?
to the gym.
I did.
Okay, that counts.
As in, but look, you know, there's the gym, there's the spa. They have a
running track.
whirlpool. They have the running track.
Which is great. Well, yeah, this is my first sea cruise, and I've always been intimidated about going on ocean cruises. Well, you know that. It just feels like it could be overwhelming being surrounded by thousands of people. But I really like the fact that this is a smaller cruise ship, and therefore we have 700 guests on board, and it doesn't even feel 700. To me, it feels like 300.
Yeah.
Because all guests are never really there at the same space at the same time. I'm having a really great time, and I really love the stops.
I'm really glad. A sea cruise takes you to a country, a river cruise takes you through it.
After talking about cruise life on board, we talked about why we're here in the Azamara in the first place.
Back again, why we're here. We're testing for Patrick's big trip next year. And where's that cruise going next year?
Oh, it's going everywhere. It's intense 5 autonomous regions of Spain. So it's starting from Barcelona. The first stop is going to be Valencia, Cartagena, Málaga, Then we're swinging through Gibraltar, Seville, again our overnights, over to Portugal, both Lisbon and Porto, and then all the way around the northern part of the peninsula to Bilbao, San Sebastian, and finishing up in Bordeaux. For me, Spain is, the best part about it is there's so much variety, there's so many different things. But when you go to just one place and you take away this idea, you only have a part of the puzzle, right? And so being able to go to Andalusia, to Murcia, to Catalonia, to Valencia, to the Basque region, you have all these different parts of the puzzle to get a full idea of kind of what Spain really is about.
And sometime during this conversation, we reflected on the funny memories we've shared during this trip so far. Because we went to a wine shop.
I wonder. That's where you spit wine all over your shirt.
Accidentally. Not on purpose.
I don't think they heard the funniest joke ever.
What's the funniest joke ever?
That was no joke. It's just me drinking wine and breathing at the same time, and everything just like...
I showed up at Flamenco. We came on. He had stuff all over. So I'm like, what happened? There was just like splattering of red wine.
Red wine on a white shirt.
But you know, you've got to have those anecdotes from traveling, right? I mean,
Bingo! That is exactly what I. You know, I'm so glad you said that. Just on your own, because that is the beauty of a perfect day of travel.
And that is indeed the magic of travel. The three of us there, 3 travelers, 3 perspectives, one shared sense of wonder. Watch the full conversation on my YouTube channel very soon to dive deeper into the world of river and ocean cruises. And that was our day at sea. And what a satisfying day it has truly been. Afterwards, we all had a good long rest. And tomorrow, we will wake up in our final destination, the city of Barcelona. Guys, we made it to Barcelona. I spent my last night here in the ship, and today I get to spend full day here in this beautiful city in Catalunya. We docked at the World Trade Center port of Barcelona, had breakfast at the deck with a view of the city. I had a chat with Patrick, a true expert of the city, on what makes Barcelona so special and why he loves the city so much.
I love Barcelona just because of all that it offers. I came out here thinking I was only going to be here for maybe a year, a little bit. Just quickly fell in love with the laid back atmosphere, beautiful weather, just the overall culture. And just look at that. Every single time I come back, whether it's flying in, driving in, boating in now, that look, that feel, that view, it just never gets old.
Right, can you tell me a few favorite spots you have in Barcelona that you have a special place in your heart?
Few favorite spots. One of them is actually just right up above us. You can see it right there. I think in terms of views, it's some of the best that you can find. Very unique, going from Montjuic over to the port on that port cable car. And it's really cool. You can see the 2 of them joining in just right there. That's in terms of views, one of my favorite things to do. Another one is just at the old port over here. There's a really nice kind of like bar restaurant called Carabela. And it's just a really cool place to sit down, people watch, and just take it all in. You've got all the boats, people, bikes, everybody coming by, everything coming by. If I had to give like maybe one special restaurant or something that's very unique here in Barcelona, there is the Champagneria, which is just around the corner from Carabela as well. And it's a really cool champagne bar where you're just kind of standing the entire time. Sandwiches, little things to pick at, and obviously the special cava here in Barcelona.
Our friend Patrick here is also a professional guide here in Barcelona, and ask him to tell us about what he does.
So Patrick Guide Barcelona is the company that I started when I started doing tours. And obviously just what I love about Barcelona is really being able to share that with everybody, everything that I've learned and things. So I started doing tours about 10 years ago and started creating videos and all sorts of things on YouTube, and that's where Patrick Guide Barcelona was really born. I also have a guidebook, the Patrick Guide to Barcelona, but just everything that I've learned in the 15 years that I've lived here, trying to make sure that when you come in, you have the best possible experience. So if you're looking for tours, just information, things to do, whatever you need in Barcelona, you can find me patrickguidebarcelona.com, Patrick Guide Barcelona on all social media outlets.
And finally, I ask him about the exciting Azamara cruise he's leading next year.
after this scouting trip on the Azamara lines coming from Lisbon over to Barcelona. Next year, I'll be leaving port from Barcelona, going all the way around the Iberian Peninsula and finishing up in Bordeaux, France. So it is a 2-week, 14-night extravaganza, let's call it, of discovering Spain, but also Portugal, a little bit of France, Gibraltar, and I'll be leading that cruise. So if you're interested, get online, book in so you can make sure that you get the cabins you want and the tours that I'll be putting together and the activities I'll be putting together in each of the different cities to make sure that not only you learn about Barcelona, but Spain as a whole.
Now you get a dose of Patrick and his passion for Barcelona and Spain. It's your time to experience his extraordinary Barcelona to Bordeaux cruise itinerary on the Azamara Quest next year, June 2026. Remember to scan the QR code, email me, jans@inthemoodforlife.com, or book your cruise now, azamara2026.inthemoodforlife.com. But for now, let's continue onward to Barcelona. This is the grand finale of our Azamara cruise, and there couldn't be a better city to conclude our journey than the great capital of Catalonia. Dave and Patrick both live in the city, so while they disembarked and concluded their journeys, I got to spend an extra whole day in Barcelona. In my last 2 visits here, I've already seen a lot and practically experienced what is the greatest hits of Barcelona. I've been to Sagrada Familia, Casa Batlló, Casa Milà, Park Güell, explored the Gothic Quarter, went into the Gothic Cathedral, and ate so much tapas more than anyone could handle. As this is my 3rd time in the city, I'm on a quest to do things and see places I've missed the last time. From the cruise port, naturally, I've started with La Rambla, Barcelona's legendary pedestrian promenade. So guys, we are in La Rambla, one of the most famous avenues here in Barcelona. Really beautiful line of trees heading all the way to the sea. I mean, all avenues must lead to the sea, right? La Rambla is really busy, so just make sure that you look after all your belongings. As you can see, everything is attached. My phone is attached to me. My little camera is attached to my wrist. So yeah, you just gotta look after yourself. Just be a smart tourist. Just a little reminder over there for you. Tucked off the bustling La Rambla, and my first stop for today is Palau Güell. And let me tell you, if you think you've done Gaudí before because you've seen La Sagrada Familia, think again. I'm a huge admirer of Antoni Gaudí's work, arguably Barcelona's greatest architect and artist, and it was amazing to see this mansion, one of Gaudí's first major commissions when he was just 34 years old. This urban palace was commissioned and owned by the wealthy industrialist Eusebi Güell, who basically became Gaudí's life patron, and Palau Güell was designed for entertaining Barcelona's high society. As you can truly see it, this was built to impress. This is one of Gaudí's early works alongside Sagrada Familia. This palace predates his later works Casa Batlló and Casa Milà. Inside, it's dark, moody, with interior touches and design that looks like a cross between Gothic Tim Burton film set and the headquarters of Order of the Phoenix from Harry Potter. And this was Gaudí just warming up. The soaring central hall alone is worth the entry ticket. A stunning play in light and form, like a mini cathedral with an actual organ. I find this space jaw-dropping. Though considered more restrained than his later works, Palau Güell already shows Gaudí's signature blend of Gothic and organic forms. And that brings us to the rooftop. Gaudí turned the chimneys into a psychedelic forest of sculptures, each one uniquely tiled in trencadís, Gaudí's trademark broken ceramic mosaic. These stylistic chimneys will later resonate into his much later works, the aforementioned Casa Batlló and Casa Milà, or La Pedrera. Some say you can trace everything Gaudí did much later back into this palace, his first full experiment of his style. So if you ever want to understand where Gaudí began, not the touristy postcard Gaudí, but the ambitious, radical young genius in the rise, Palau Güell is the place to go. It's like meeting the artist before the fame. Palau Güell is now one of the 7 UNESCO World Heritage Preserve sites from the works of Antoni Gaudí. Nearby, I wandered inside the city's most famous food market, La Boqueria. If Barcelona had a belly, this would be it. Anyone who's been here would know this place is both a riot and a spectacle. Chaotic, joyful, colorful, edible spectacle. Who knew a 13th century market has become a popular tourist attraction today and practically a landmark in Barcelona for foodies, tourists and locals alike. There is so much food to be had here. It can feel a tad overwhelming. From from fruit and veg produce, dried delicacies and chocolates, oysters and seafood and fresh meat and cured meats and jamón ad infinitum, and just about any food you can stomach. One thing I love about La Boqueria is that you can eat at one of the many food stalls. And I went to Ramblero, and I've heard it's one of the best seafood places to eat in La Boqueria.
I'm in Ramblero, and apparently they're really good at seafood. I ordered some chicharrones. Absolutely delicious. Finished off with Ceuta Veran, my favorite drink. Tapas is enough for new food. There's so much food to choose from here in the Korea market. But if you're coming for a snack, it's already great. I'm enjoying this.
Wow, Boqueria is really intense. But if you ever go to the market and wanted to eat chicharrones, Ramblero is the best place to eat it. At least you get this fried squids, freshly made, freshly fried. If you're in Boqueria, go to Ramblero. Now, I'm heading to my next stop, which is Palau de la Música Catalana. Fueled by tapas in my belly, I passed through the Gothic Quarter, Barcelona's old soul, and headed to my next stop. This is Palau de la Música Catalana, a true Catalonian 20th century modernist jewel tucked in a corner of Barcelona's El Born neighborhood. Designed by Luis Domènech i Montaner, considered the intellectual father of Catalan modernism and a contemporary of Antoni Gaudí. I'd been meaning to visit inside, and I finally have, bearing witness to such an architectural fever dream, a music hall unlike any other in the world, a kaleidoscope of stained glass, mosaics, sculptures, and just pure creative ambition made into reality. I doubt you'll find a more flamboyant, floral, and artistically beautiful concert hall in the world. The interior is a symphony of colors. The stage goes full Wagnerian and Greek, with Valkyries and Muses, and the ceiling itself is pure theater. Dominated by a massive stained glass skylight shaped like an inverted dome, pouring gorgeous refracted light of colors, surrounded by an inverted garden of ceramic roses. And yet, this is more than just a music hall. This place is a symbol of Catalan identity, resistance, and political expression after centuries of suppression. This building is coated with Catalan symbols and meanings, that even throughout the Franco dictatorship, when everything Catalan was banned, including language, culture, and music, this palace survived. Today, this is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and when you find yourself sitting in this gilded concert hall, remember, this is more than just a palace of music, but a century-long monument to Catalan identity, resilience, and cultural pride. Outside, Barcelona is made for walking. It's a city best discovered on foot, and you get to see a lot. I made my way towards Parc de la Ciutadella, one of the city's great green lawns, kind of like the Central Park of Barcelona. There used to be a military fortress here under the House of Bourbon, and this whole area was turned into the 19th century civic park for the people. I made a brief detour into the Umbracle, the old cast iron greenhouse, to see some tropical plants because, well, I love plants. Further along, I strolled the bright big promenade of the Passeig de Luis Companys, lined with palm trees and ornate lampposts, and always buzzing with life. At the end, the Arc de Triomphe. Bold and brick red, this was built in 1888 as a main entrance to the Universal Expo. But unlike its war-glorifying European siblings, Barcelona's arch celebrates progress, creativity, and modernity. A triumph of culture, not cannons. And yes, when it comes to culture, Barcelona has it in spades. I crossed over to the Eixample district, basically Sagrada and Gaudí territory. But this time, I was on a mission to see something different. Hospital de Sant Pau. Most people overlook this place, given that it's overshadowed by La Sagrada Familia, standing just right across a few blocks away, facing each other in the Eixample skyline. Now, don't let the word hospital fool you. In Barcelona, hospitals can be a masterpiece. This is a UNESCO World Heritage listed Art Nouveau and modernist wonderland of domes, mosaic murals, terracotta rooftops, and colorful tiles, sculptures and carvings and pavilions. It's like a whole little fairy tale city by itself. Designed by Luis Domènech i Montaner, who also did Palau de la Música, Hospital de Sant Pau feels like a masterfully designed storybook vision of healthcare, a place where healing meets architecture, where you probably get your heart checked because you'll be breathless from all its beauty. This is definitely the most beautiful hospital complex I've ever been to. The hospital complex is made up of pavilions, and I've read that each is connected by underground tunnels so patients and staff could move quietly and efficiently. This hospital was in operation for over a century until 2009. Today, the original pavilions have been beautifully restored and transformed into a cultural and research center, a living museum of architecture and idealism. This is definitely worth a visit, and I couldn't be any happier seeing this place that proved me why Barcelona is such an extraordinary and unique city, precisely because of unexpected masterpieces such as this. I finished my day in Barcelona with such a sense of wonder, walking along the streets of Gracia, just soaking up the local atmosphere. It was the perfect note to end on, a city alive in its simplicity. Looking back on this Azamara journey, I'm filled with more than just memories. I'm filled with gratitude.
This has been a wonderful first sea cruise, and the experience here was really, really great. I think the service here is just top notch. The service here just exceeded all the expectations, and the food was really, really worth it. And there's such a variety of food that they serve here every day. And I think the ship was really comfortable too. No issues during our cruise. Thankfully, it was all smooth sailing. And from now on, I am looking forward to my next sea cruise.
We set sail from Lisbon, then to the soulful streets of Seville, the exotic edges of Ceuta, the sun-drenched charm of Málaga, and finally to this masterpiece of a city, Barcelona. And what made it all the more meaningful? Sharing it with Dave and Patrick, who somehow let me tag along on this seabound adventure with all my enthusiasm, cameras, curiosity, and yes, a little bit of chaos. I laughed more than I planned to. I learned more than I expected. And I saw Spain through a lens I hadn't before. Sometimes with company, sometimes on my own, and both felt essential. This cruise was a testament to something I hold dear, that when you open yourself up to new experiences, life responds. Not always perfectly, not always predictably, but always richly and joyfully. Because memories don't make themselves, adventures don't plan themselves, but you can. Embrace the thrill and the mishaps, the shared laughter and the awkward moments, the slow walks, the fast jaunt, all the tapas and tinta de veranos. This cruise offered us a taste of Lisbon and Spain, city by city, plate by plate, street by street. And each place left its own memory in me. This was my first ocean cruise, and it happened because I said yes. That's all it took. One open door, one moment of curiosity. And what came after was worth every mile. So while our Azamara voyage has come to an end, the story is just the beginning. Join Patrick's escorted Azamara cruise next year, June 2026, from Barcelona to Bordeaux, and make your own memories happen. And stay tuned for my upcoming full episode, In the Mood for Barcelona, where I deep dive into the sparkling, shimmering capital of Catalonia and all the brilliance this city offers. And remember, it takes only one yes to start a journey and embrace life's amazing adventures for us to have memories to keep and stories worth telling.